Good morning, friends. Happy Friday. I love Fridays. I know like every day is Friday now, but it really isn't. We still work really hard all week long, don't we? So Fridays feel so good when they roll around. It's May 29th. That means that when I see you again on Monday, it's going to be June, like officially June. And then you can start counting down your days because you kids have 12 more days of school starting on Monday, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, um, happy Friday. I am up really early, which is weird because oh my gosh, you guys, my kids in particular, you're going to be so excited about this for me. Anyway, so last night I was trying to figure out a book to read you next because we only have 2 more weeks. And that means I have to find something with like an appropriate amount of chapters because I want to make sure I get through it with you before you have to get rid of your laptops. So we have one more chapter in our fudge book. So I went in and I bought a whole bunch of these books so that I could figure out which ones I would want to read to you. And I read them all when I was a kid, I thought. Last night I went in to look through the books and I picked one up and I thought it was one I had read and it wasn't. So Miss Orchid, who has been alive on this earth for 48 years and thought I had read every Judy Blume book ever written, including the ones she writes for grown-ups, found a new Judy Blume book that she had never read. I sort of freaked out, stayed up till 12:30 reading. I am so tired, but I was so excited to get up and talk to you today that I just like woke up and it's a beautiful day. And my cat wouldn't stop meowing. And I left the windows open and the birds are very loud this morning, which was actually kind of awesome. So yesterday I told you the story about my mom and I seeing the grill in the middle of the road and about all the kayaks like flying off the cars and stuff. So, and then I told you I had more stories about things flying off of cars. Well, this weekend, my parents told me a story which I had forgotten about, and I actually do remember it now, which is sort of funny. So when I was 10, my uncle was 15, which is kind of funny. He's much younger than my dad. And my little brother was 5. There are several things that happened that year. One, I turned 10, so I was like double digits. I was very excited. And my mother kept saying, "You're a decade." And I thought that was so cool. 2, my mother gave me the ugliest perm in the history of life. She lied and told me that I would look like Shirley Temple, and I did not at all. I just looked stupid. And 3, we went to Disney World, which was a very, very big deal because, as I've told you many, many times, we had like no money growing up, and my parents saved every cent that they had for real. Like we had a big, huge glass jar, like, and I don't mean a jar, it was like ginormous. It was like 2 feet tall at least, and at least that big around. It was huge. And they put every penny or coin that they had, they would put in there until we filled it all up. And then we spent weeks wrapping all the pennies and nickels and dimes. And that is how they saved to go to Florida. So when we went to Florida, we stayed at a campsite because it was a lot cheaper than staying on the resort. But we did get to go to Disney World, which was like the trip of a lifetime. But for us, it was just mind blowing. I just amazing. So anyway, I did not remember this story, but my parents told me the other day. So because there were 3 of us kids, my parents gave us a job. So before we even left, we each had a special job we had to do whenever we would get in the car. So I believe it was my uncle's job to check the carrier that we had on top of the car to make sure the carrier was hooked. So his job was to like make sure it was latched because everything we had was in there because we were in the car. So the carrier had to have all of our clothes and stuff in it and the tent and all that stuff. So his job was to make sure the carrier was closed. My job, I believe, was to make sure we had all of the kids because I was the middle child. So I had to make sure the oldest, the middle, and then my little brother. So my job was to count and make sure everybody was in the car. And my little brother's job was to make sure that everyone was wearing their seatbelts. But we were talking and like us kids, and halfway to Florida, we got bored doing the same jobs over and over again. So we decided to switch jobs, but we didn't tell my parents that we switched jobs. So they didn't know this. So what happened was we stop and go to a hotel or whatever because we're on our way down, or I think we were just at the campsite. And when we went to leave, everybody was supposed to do their job. But one of us, and I think it was probably me because I think I would have been like switched for this job. But I think my uncle and I switched jobs to check the carrier and make sure that it was hooked. And I didn't. I think it had to have been me because I wouldn't have given such an important job to my little brother. So I must have like forgotten that that was my job, and I did the other job instead. And when we started driving down the road, the carrier top flew off, and like all of our clothes started flying all over all over the expressway. All of our stuff came flying out of the top of the thing, all over the expressway. We had to pull over and try to get all of our clothes. So yeah, that was not pleasant at all, but it does make for a funny story. I love Disney World, but I was such a wimp kind of when I was a kid that, you know, the only things I remember were, I remember the Peter Pan ride was so real. I felt like I was flying, and it was the most amazing feeling I had ever felt up to that point. And the other thing I remember is that I cried hysterically, and I mean like hardcore freaking out all the way through the Haunted Mansion. Like I could not handle it. I was freaking out. My brother was laughing. He was like 5 years younger than me. I was losing my mind. And right around the time when I decided to calm down and just chill out, because my mom was trying to get me to stop crying and calm down, I had my eyes like squeezed shut though, like so hard. But then my mom's like, Sean, you need to stop crying. You need to calm down. This is not real. It's fine. And I was bawling. So right when I decided, okay, I'm going to get the courage to open my eyes, it was that part where if you've ever been to the Haunted Mansion, the chair that you're in spins around and you're looking at a mirror, and in the mirror it shows a ghost sitting next to you. Oh, well, that's when I decided to open my eyes, when the chair spun and I opened my eyes, and now I see a ghost sitting next to me, and oh my God, I literally freaked out. I can't believe I didn't wet my pants. I really can't, because it was terrifying. And then I also cried through, I think I I think I cried all the way through the Snow White ride too, which I don't think is there anymore, but same thing. Like I was losing it. Like it was so real. But that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't have TV. So like when I would see things, I had a really hard time figuring out like what was real and what wasn't real, because things felt very real to me because I had a really good imagination. And I hadn't like watched stuff on TV to know that things could be made up and be fake. I just hadn't seen enough television. So those things felt super real to me. So it's kind of funny. So I cried pretty much the whole way through Disney World because I was such a big baby. I feel kind of stupid about it now, but I'll tell you something. We went back to Disney like a couple years ago with Darby and my nephew Gabriel, and it was amazing. And I was so nervous to go in the Haunted Mansion. It's kind of funny. Like I was scared. Still, I'm 48. Lord. All right. Anyway, have an awesome Friday. Enjoy this gorgeous weather. It's finally cooling off a little, so Miss Orchid is happy. Have a great Friday, friends. See you at 10:30 on our meeting.